Hi, today we are going to be tasting our 3 single terroir Mullineux Swartland Chenin Blancs. We love tasting them together because it showcases how they relate to each other, but also how they stand out as individuals.
So first up, we're going to be tasting our SCHIST Chenin blanc from Kasteelberg. These are very, very shallow rocky soils that are very well draining and make for smaller vines with smaller bunches and berries. Next up, we'll be tasting our GRANITE Chenin blanc from the decomposed soils of the Paardeberg mountain. These are super deep soils, very, very sandy, very deep soils that allow the vines to build a massive root system that buffers them against the warm, dry conditions we have in the Swartland. And then third up, we'll be tasting our QUARTZ Chenin blanc. These are from the lower slopes of Kasteelberg mountain, very, very deep soils as well, but with a much higher clay content and with a layer of white rock on the top that reflects a lot of sunlight. So the idea here is we name the wines after the soil because we really feel that the soil has the strongest impact in the terroir and therefore the taste of the wines. Other factors like aspect, slope, the climate are quite consistent throughout the Swartland, but the soil is really the factor that changes from one vineyard to another quite dramatically. And it is also quite consistent within the vineyards. So it really has a wonderful expression in these wines.
So we love to harvest the grapes at roughly the same ripeness. And when they come to the winery, they're handled identically. So they're all whole bunch pressed and then naturally fermented in neutral barrels. And that way we really think that it's the soil that's shining through and being showcased in each wine.
So first up, the SCHIST Chenin, so from Kasteelberg. These again are the shallow rocky soils that make for smaller vines with smaller bunches and berries. Also, the canopy is more open, so there's more sunlight shining on the grapes. And because of that, the nose, the aromatic profile is a bit more stone fruit oriented. So peaches and apricots on the nose. And the palate, because of those smaller vines and smaller berries, you get a lot more concentration. So it's quite a textural wine. It's a wine with a lot of mid-palate weight to it. Next up is the GRANITE Chenin. So GRANITE Chenin, as I said, is very, very deep, sandy soils. The vines have a massive root system. So on the nose, you pick up a little bit more sort of citrus aromatics, limes and lemons. There's a salty, saline note that goes through the wine. The soils, being very sandy, are quite low in nutrients. And that means that it has a long, slow fermentation in the winery. And that builds up this saline, salty character. And on the palate, it's got a line of acidity. It's much fresher and tighter than the SCHIST Chenin. And then third up, the QUARTZ Chenin. QUARTZ is, as I said, on the lower slopes of Kasteelberg. It's, again, very, very deep soils, but it has a high clay content. So because of that, it's got a lot of acidity, but also quite a lot of mid-palate together. And on the nose, because you have this layer of white rock on the soil that reflects the sunlight, you get a lot of stone fruit again. So this is, again, sort of the peach and apricot spectrum. But there's also this sort of spicy, peppery character on the nose. So yes, it's really fantastic and very insightful for us to work in the winery and ferment the wines the same way and get this wonderful difference in expression in these wines.
So the most important thing when you're drinking these wines is give them time. Whether you're aging them or you're giving them air and letting them breathe, these wines love to be exposed to air and actually get more expressive when you give them that opportunity. So whether you're drinking them on their own individually or all three together, we just feel that these wines give amazing insight into the variation of terroir in the Swartland. Cheers.
Cheers.